I wanted to go through, this isn't entirely a presentation that you've heard me give before. There are some modifications to it. But there's three questions that I want to ask you about as we enter into 2023. And I don't know how many of you go into your office or open your computer each and every day. And it seems like every day I'm seeing this in the top right hand section of my computer. And this is what it looks like if you're a real person that uses a Mac versus somebody that's still in the early 2000s using a PC. PC people, I don't know what you get, probably just your system crashes, but whatever, that's a discussion for another day. But I don't know about all of you. What happens for me is that there's this little drop down menu and I can select from 4 different options, as you can see: restart, try in an hour, try tonight, remind me tomorrow. And the most common answer, the one that I pick continuously over and over again, is remind me tomorrow, remind me tomorrow. And I'll never forget, and I've shared this story with many of you. Back in 2020, I was one of the presenters for Mega Camp. That was when they had it digital. And I showed up 30 minutes early before my presentation, just like they asked me to. And that was the second that my computer decided that it was going to do the update, that it wasn't going to allow me to click anymore and remind me tomorrow. And if you've ever lived through a Mac update, what happens is the screen goes black. There's a little Apple logo, and then there's this bar at the bottom. And here it is. It was like 1:30 in the afternoon. I'm going live at 2. And the bar says it's going to take 24 minutes to complete the update. And so I am freaking out at this point, as you can imagine. And Liz Landry was with me, Abe Shreve, and they're texting me like, hey, where are you? And it got me really thinking that, I ignored the wake up call. I ignored the notification for so long. And whenever you do that for too long, life will start to act on your behalf. And I've come to believe that there are 2 different types of wake up calls. Think of notifications and wake up calls as kind of synonymous. But there's internal and external. So internal is when you're getting that little nudge. There's something that you need to update. There's a part of your life that needs to be upgraded. And you ignore it. No, remind me tomorrow, remind me tomorrow. And then what I believe happens is that it shifts from an internal wake-up call to an external wake-up call. And so life, God, universal intelligence, whatever you call it, that ultimately takes over and starts taking the action for you. But it is super inconvenient, as it was for me during Mega Camp, and oftentimes comes as completely or in the form of complete discomfort. And so the first question that I have for all of you today is, what is the notification life is giving you that you are consistently ignoring? What is the notification that life is giving you that you are consistently ignoring? So think about that question. And if something pops up immediately, write it down. And I would encourage you to reflect upon that. I have coaching calls with all of you this week. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are to your answer to that question. Now, the other question that I wanted to ask you, and this is an old question, but it has a new spin. I think this one is one of the greats, is this one right here. How well are you leading yourself? We all know that the bold law of your business will never, or your business grows to the extent that you do. I think that when you look at the limitless or limited visions and execution of people, it all boils down to the simple skill of how well you're leading yourself. And I like to ask this question in 2 ways. One is in a macro sense. So like looking overall. What I like about this question also is that you can chunk it into a micro sense. So like you can add in, how well am I leading myself, for example, in my health? How well am I leading myself in my personal or key relationships? So you can use it in the macro, the micro, but I like to use it as a rating system, 0 to 10. And it doesn't really matter what context we're talking about. You're leading yourself well when someone could come in and sort of act as a fly on the wall. They just observe you. You don't even know that they're there. And just through osmosis, by just repeating the behaviors that they see, they would be able to go out and create results, whether it's in business, health, relationships themselves. They wouldn't have to listen to your audio. They could monitor your video. And the thing that really hit me, you guys, when I was on vacation is that when you think about leading yourself well, I think it really boils down to one critical skill. And this is the quote that I wrote on this. It may need a little bit of work, but it says, reaching your potential is purely based on the degree of mastery you achieve in keeping the promises you make to yourself. Promise keeping is literally ground zero for designing a life on your terms. Leading yourself well begins and ends with this one critical skill. So I think we all have a relationship to promises that we make to ourselves. And there are some people that are really great at following through on the promises that they make themselves. And I think those are the people that live a true life by design, whatever that may look like for you. And yet, there are also people who consistently make and break the promises that they that they have with themselves. And what it does is it erodes their trust and confidence. And so the question that I ultimately have for you, and this is something you'll probably hear me reference back over the next few weeks, is this one right here. What is the promise or promises you continuously make and break with yourself? What is the promise or promises you continuously make and break with yourself? So remember, life is a quantitative and qualitative game. And to win in a qualitative way, to feel good about what you're achieving and the success that you're creating, I believe that that really boils down to your ability to lead yourself well. And I believe that the one critical skill to develop in leading yourself well is your ability to make and keep your own promises. And the thing about promises, you guys, is it's just like money. You will never manage big money well until you learn to manage small money well. You don't manage to learn to make or to keep big promises well until you learn to keep small promises well. So start small. What's a promise that you will make yourself and keep forever? The last one is this right here: first creation, second creation. I ripped this off from Quantum Leap, but the way I describe first creation, second creation is the ability to pull something out of your head, pulling a vision out of the inner world of you and making it real, right? So if you think about, like, it's kind of like putting together a puzzle, right? You get this picture of the puzzle, there's all these pieces, and then you snap the pieces together so that it ultimately builds the picture. And first creation, second creation is something that you're always practicing. You're doing it whether you know it or not. You're wittingly doing it or unwittingly doing it. But the question that I have for you is, how skilled are you at first creation, second creation? How good are you at taking a vision out of your head and making it real? How good are you at creating instead of just being a creature? See, the difference between human beings, people, and all other living animals is we aren't satisfied with just survival. We're given this tool called our imagination. See, your imagination is like a movie studio, and you play all the parts. You're the director, you are the actor or the actresses, you control the lights, the music, you control it all. And yet, if we aren't conscious of first creation, second creation, if we're not wittingly putting things into our imagination and then manifesting them into action or into real life, then that's a life by default. Then your programming is running the show. And I want you to write this down and remember it forever. Whenever you are allowing unconscious programming to run the show, you have lost free will. Whenever you are allowing unconscious programming to run the show, you have lost free will. So just to recap with all of you, There are three questions that I asked you. What is the notification life is giving you that you are consistently ignoring? What is the promise you are continuously, what is the promise or promises you continuously make and break with yourself? And then lastly, how skilled are you at first creation, second creation? So as I mentioned, we all have coaching calls this week. I'll be asking you these questions on those calls. Do your best to answer them, and I can't wait to discuss it all with you as we move through this week and ultimately into 2023. So this is the point for you guys to all break out. The breakout room should be open. Can somebody give me a thumbs up? We good? Thank you, Jenny. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'll talk to y'all soon.